There is a misconception that affects the lives of millions of diabetics every day. The idea that fruit is fruit and all fruit is good for anyone. This idea is responsible for blood sugar spikes people cannot explain and HbA1c values that do not improve despite all the effort. For someone with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, the choice of fruit matters as much as the choice of carbohydrate. There are fruits that, consumed correctly, have documented mechanisms for improving insulin sensitivity and reducing postprandial blood sugar spikes. And there are fruits that, despite their healthy reputation, produce blood sugar spikes comparable to sweets and sodas. Before the list, what makes a fruit good or bad for diabetics? Two key metrics: glycemic index and glycemic load. I measures how fast the sugar enters circulation. L goes further. It accounts for both GI and the amount of carbohydrates per serving, giving a more real picture of the impact on blood sugar. Fiber content, bioactive compounds like polyphenols and anthocyanins, and the form of consumption, whole fruit versus juice, all matter enormously. Fruit number 1, berries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries. Berries are collectively the champions for diabetics. Strawberry GI41, blackberry GI25, blueberry GI53, raspberry GI32. The anthocyanins that give them their red, purple and blue colors activate the GLUT4 glucose transporter in muscle cells, the same mechanism targeted by metformin, promoting insulin-independent glucose uptake. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed regular blueberry consumption increased insulin sensitivity by 22% in adults with insulin resistance. Studies show 15 to 20% reduction in postprandial glucose peak when eaten before or with carbohydrate-rich meals. How to consume: 1 cup of fresh berries before or with meals. Frozen preserves anthocyanins. Fruit number 2, apple. Apple has GI of 36 and 2 synergistic components: quercetin in the skin, which inhibits intestinal alpha-glucosidase exactly like acarbose, a diabetes medication, and pectin, a soluble fiber that slows glucose absorption. A BMJ cohort study with 187,000 participants showed that consuming 2 to 3 weekly servings of whole apple was associated with 23% lower type 2 diabetes risk. How to consume: always with skin. Never apple juice. Fiber is removed, and the glycemic impact is radically different. Margaret, 65, retired from Phoenix, started eating 1 apple with skin 20 minutes before lunch. Her 2-hour post-lunch glucose dropped from average 187 to 154 milligrams per deciliter in 6 weeks. Fruit number 3, pear. Pear has 5.5 grams of fiber per medium fruit, GI of 38. The fiber significantly slows gastric emptying and glucose absorption. A nutrition and metabolism study showed adults, including 2 pears per week, had significant insulin sensitivity improvement and HbA1c reduction over 12 weeks. How to consume: whole with skin, at the beginning of the meal, or as a snack. Fruit number 4, cherry. Cherry has the lowest GI among widely available fruits, only 22, rich in anthocyanins and ellagic acid, which inhibits the tyrosine phosphatase enzyme that normally reduces insulin receptor signaling. Simply put, cherries help insulin work better. How to consume: fresh, 12 to 15 cherries per serving. Sour, Montmorency cherries have higher bioactive compound concentration. Fruit number 5, peach and nectarine. Peach has GI of 42 and is rich in chlorogenic acid and neochlorogenic acid, the same compounds responsible for part of coffee's benefits on glucose metabolism. Chlorogenic acid inhibits hepatic glucose 6-phosphatase, reducing liver glucose production. The skin concentrates more of these compounds than the pulp. How to consume: always with skin, fresh. Canned peach in syrup must be avoided. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from, and turn on the bell. Fruit number 6, guava. Guava has GI of 17 to 19, one of the lowest of all fruits, and 5.4 grams of fiber per 100 grams. A nutrition and food science study showed regular guava consumption reduced fasting glucose and postprandial levels in adults with type 2 diabetes. Red guava is especially rich in lycopene, which protects pancreatic beta cells from oxidative stress. Fruit number 7, avocado. Avocado is technically a fruit and is probably the single best option for diabetics. Virtually no glycemic impact. It has less than 2 grams of net carbohydrates per 100 grams and is rich in monounsaturated fatty acids and fiber. An Obesity Review's meta-analysis showed high monounsaturated fat diets were associated with significant insulin sensitivity improvement and HbA1c reduction in type 2 diabetics. How to consume: half to 1 avocado per day. Fruit number 8, kiwi. Kiwi has GI of 50 and is one of few fruits with significant inositol content, a compound that improves cellular insulin response. Also contains actinidin, a protease unique to kiwi that may slow gastric emptying, and vitamin C that protects pancreatic beta cells. How to consume: 1 to 2 kiwis before meals. Fruit number 9, whole orange, never the juice. Orange has GI of 43 and is rich in hesperidin, a flavonoid that reduces insulin resistance. The pulp fiber slows fructose and sucrose absorption. 1 glass of 200 milliliters orange juice contains the sugar of 3 to 4 whole oranges with almost no fiber. The glycemic impact is comparable to a soda. A BMJ study showed fruit juice consumption was associated with 8% higher type 2 diabetes risk, while whole fruit consumption was associated with risk reduction. Fruit number 10, fresh plum. Fresh plum has GY of 39 and is rich in chlorogenic acid, 3 to 7 times more than apple per unit weight. A British Journal of Nutrition study showed adults consuming fresh plums regularly for 8 weeks had significant fasting, glucose reduction, and insulin sensitivity improvement. The 5 worst fruits for diabetics. Worst fruit 1, watermelon. GI 72 to 80, practically no fiber, 92% water, and 8% sugar. A 300-gram slice can raise blood sugar as much as a piece of cake. If consuming, maximum 100 grams combined with protein. Worst fruit 2, dried fruits, raisins, dates, dried figs. Concentrate all the sugar without the diluting water. Raisin GI 64, dried fig GI 61. Often added to granola and whole grain breads as healthy ingredients, a frequent trap for diabetics. Worst fruit 3, any fruit juice, even natural. Without fiber, sugar enters the bloodstream almost as fast as pure glucose. A 200 milliliter glass of orange juice can raise blood sugar 60 to 80 points in 30 minutes. Worst fruit 4, pineapple. GI 59 to 66. Bromelain does not compensate the glycemic impact. The main problem is that it is consumed in large portions. Worst fruit 5, very ripe mango. GI 51 to 60, rises with ripening. A medium mango weighs 200 to 300 grams and contains 40 to 50 grams of carbohydrates. Eating a whole mango can raise blood sugar 80 to 120 points in 1 hour. 5 practical principles for consuming fruit as a diabetic. First, whole fruit always beats juice. Second, consume fruit at the beginning of the meal or as dessert immediately after. Not as an isolated fasting snack when glycemic impact is greater. Third, combine fruit with protein or healthy fat, natural yogurt, cheese, nuts. Fourth, small red berries have better glycemic profiles than large sweet tropical fruits as a general rule. Fifth, use your personal glucometer to test your peak 1 hour after a new fruit. Individual glycemic response varies. The best 10. Berries, apple with skin, pear, cherry, peach with skin, guava, avocado, kiwi, whole orange, fresh plum. The worst 5, watermelon in large portions, dried fruits, any fruit juice, pineapple, very ripe mango in large portions. Fruit is an essential part of a healthy diet even for diabetics. What changes is the choice and form of consumption. God bless you and give you much health. Until next time. Why juice is so harmful for diabetics and the most common misconception. Fruit juice, even 100% natural with no added sugar, is one of the biggest glycemic traps for diabetics trying to eat healthily. Many diabetics correctly eliminate sodas and replace them with natural fruit juices, believing they are making a beneficial substitution. However, the glycemic impact of natural fruit juice can equal or exceed that of the soda. When fiber is removed from fruit during juicing, sugar, mainly fructose and sucrose, enters the bloodstream almost as fast as pure glucose. A 200 milliliter glass of orange, apple, grape, mango, or pineapple juice typically contains 20 to 30 grams of sugar and raises blood glucose 60 to 80 points in 30 minutes. Eating one whole orange, one whole apple, or one whole pear is radically less impactful. This is one of the easiest and most impactful substitutions for glycemic control. Switching from a glass of fruit juice to the equivalent whole fruit can reduce the glycemic spike by 50 to 80%. The rule is simple. If it can be consumed in seconds by drinking, the glycemic impact is completely different from eating. The anthocyanin mechanism in detail. Anthocyanins from berries represent the most direct mechanism by which a fruit affects glucose metabolism. They act in three complementary ways. First, they inhibit alpha-glucosidase and alpha-amylase enzymes responsible for starch digestion, reducing the absorption rate of glucose from all carbohydrates consumed in the same meal. Second, they activate the GLUT4 transporter in muscle cells independent of insulin, allowing glucose uptake even when insulin signaling is impaired. Third, they reduce the low-grade inflammation that is a central component of insulin resistance in type 2 diabetes. This third effect is why regular, not just occasional, berry consumption has documented benefits on HbA1c long-term. The minimum effective dose in studies is 1 cup of berries consumed regularly 5 or more times per week, the avocado advantage. Many people do not think of avocado as a fruit, but botanically it is, and it is probably the most beneficial fruit for type 2 diabetes. Its unique composition, practically no net carbohydrates, rich in monounsaturated fatty acids, oleic acid, the same as olive oil, high fiber concentration. The monounsaturated fats improve insulin sensitivity by altering cell membrane lipid composition, facilitating insulin receptor signaling. Avocatin B, a lipid unique to avocado, has been studied for its effect on glucose metabolism. The fat in avocado also slows gastric emptying when eaten with other foods, reducing the glycemic spike of the complete meal. Using avocado as a substitute for other fats, instead of butter on bread, instead of mayonnaise dressing on salads, is one of the most impactful substitution strategies for glycemic control. How to use your glucometer to personalize your fruit list. Individual glycemic response to fruits varies significantly between people with type 2 diabetes, depending on insulin resistance level, kidney function, gut microbiota state, and other factors. The personal glucometer is the most powerful tool for personalizing the list. Suggested protocol: eat the new fruit alone without combinations. Measure blood glucose 30 minutes before and 60 minutes after. An elevation of less than 30 milligrams per deciliter indicates the fruit is within acceptable range for you. An elevation of more than 60 milligrams per deciliter indicates that fruit requires portion adjustment or combination with protein. The 10 best and 5 worst in this video are starting points. Your glucometer will give you your personalized list. The timing of fruit consumption matters for diabetics, just as meal timing affects glycemic control. In the morning, insulin sensitivity is higher. The same fruits produce smaller blood sugar spikes than in the evening. Consuming fruit as dessert immediately after a meal with protein and fiber reduces glycemic impact compared to eating it as an isolated fasting snack. Eating fruit at night, as the last food of the day, can be especially problematic because it coincides with the lowest point of circadian insulin sensitivity. Final summary: 10 best and 5 worst. Best 10 in order of glycemic benefit: berries, strawberry, blackberry, blueberry, raspberry. Champions for anthocyanins and GLUT4, Apple with skin, quercetin plus pectin, GI36. Pear with skin, 5.5 grams fiber, GI38. Cherry, GI22, lowest of all fruits. Peach with skin, chlorogenic acid, GI42. Guava, GI17 to 19, highest fiber. Avocado, practically zero net carbs, improves insulin sensitivity. Kiwi, inositol plus actinidin, GI50. Whole orange never juice, hesperidin plus fiber, GI43. Fresh plum, high chlorogenic acid, GI39. Worst 5, watermelon in large portions, GI72 to 80, almost no fiber. Dried fruits, concentrated sugar without water, any fruit juice even natural, no fiber, glycemic spike equal to soda. Pineapple, GI59 to 66, bromelain does not compensate. Very ripe mango in large portions, GI51 to 60, 40 to 50 grams carbohydrates per medium fruit. 4 rules to remember. Whole fruit with skin. At the beginning of the meal, not as a late-night isolated snack. Combine with protein or healthy fat. Measure with glucometer 1 hour after to personalize your list. Fruit is not the diabetic's enemy. The enemy is fruit juice, dried fruit, and oversized portions of high GI fruits. With the knowledge of the 10 best and 5 worst, you have the tools to enjoy fruit intelligently. God bless you and give you much health. Until next time. The fructose question for diabetics. There is a legitimate concern about fructose for people with type 2 diabetes, especially industrial fructose from high fructose corn syrup in sodas and processed foods. But the natural fructose in whole fruits does not cause the same problems. The fiber slows its absorption, the quantities are much smaller than in industrial sources, and the bioactive compounds in fruits have effects that partially offset the glycemic impact. The problem is not the fruit, it is the juice, the dried fruit, and the oversized portions of high GI fruits. For the vast majority of type 2 diabetics, including 2 to 3 daily servings of the fruits on the best list is safe and beneficial, as long as they replace other carbohydrates in the diet rather than being added on top of an already carbohydrate-rich diet. Why the glycemic index alone is misleading for fruits. Many people get confused because watermelon's GI, 72 to 80, seems much worse than white bread's GI, 70 to 75, but feel that watermelon can't be as bad as bread. The explanation is the glycemic load. Because watermelon is 92% water, a 100-gram serving of watermelon has very few carbohydrates compared to 100 grams of bread. The problem is when you eat a 400 to 600-gram slice, which is typical, and then the total glycemic load is high. The lesson? With high GI fruits like watermelon, the key is the portion. With low GI fruits like guava or cherry, portions can be more generous without as much risk. Understanding both metrics, GI and GL, is essential for making smart fruit choices with diabetes. One of the most overlooked facts: dried fruits in supposedly healthy foods. Dried fruits deserve special attention because they are frequently used as ingredients in foods that diabetics consider healthy and safe. Granola, whole grain breads with raisins, trail mixes, muesli, energy bars, and health food snacks. A diabetic who has given up sweets and desserts can easily consume equivalent amounts of sugar through granola with raisins, a whole grain raisin bread, or a handful of trail mix with dried cranberries and dates. The concentrated sugar of dried fruits without diluting water makes small portions high in carbohydrates. A single medjool date contains about 18 grams of sugar, equivalent to almost 4 teaspoons. A tablespoon of raisins contains about 15 grams of sugar. These quantities add up quickly in foods that are marketed as healthy alternatives. Read labels. If raisins, dates, dried cranberries, dried apricots, or any other dried fruit appears in the first 5 ingredients of a packaged food, it will have a significant glycemic impact regardless of how it is marketed. The practical message about fruit and quality of life with diabetes. One of the most demoralizing effects of a diabetes diagnosis is the feeling that simple food pleasures, including fruit, are forbidden. This video has exactly the opposite objective: to show that fruit is not forbidden, that there are excellent options, and that with the right knowledge, you can enjoy fruits without compromising glycemic control. The 10 best fruits on this list not only do not harm glycemic control, in many cases they actively improve it through the mechanisms we explained. 10 fruits that work for you, 5 that work against you, and a glucometer that tells you which of the 10 are best for you specifically. With that trinity of tools, fruit stops being a problem and becomes a powerful ally of glycemic control. God bless you and give you much health. Until next time, with more evidence-based tips for living better with diabetes. The role of the skin and whole fruit consumption. One pattern you may notice in the best fruits list, always with the skin. The skin of apples, pears, peaches, kiwis, and plums concentrates significant amounts of quercetin, chlorogenic acid, anthocyanins, and other polyphenols that have direct effects on glucose metabolism. Peeling the fruit removes a significant portion of its most beneficial components. This is another reason why whole fruit is superior to processed fruit products. Peeling, cooking, canning in syrup, drying and juicing all degrade or remove the compounds that make fruit beneficial for diabetes beyond just being a source of natural sugar. The ideal is the whole fresh fruit, with skin, consumed in moderate portions as part of a meal that already contains protein and fiber to buffer the glycemic impact. This combination, the right fruit, the right form, the right portion, the right timing, the right combination, is the complete framework for fruit consumption with diabetes. Master all 5 elements and fruit becomes one of your most powerful tools for glycemic control. God bless you and give you much health. Until next time. A note for Medicare beneficiaries in the United States. The Diabetes Prevention Program and Diabetes Education Programs covered by Medicare can help you develop a personalized meal plan that incorporates the fruits on this list. Ask your doctor about referral to a registered dietitian nutritionist, RDN, with diabetes specialization. This consultation is covered by Medicare for people with diabetes. The personalized guidance of a dietitian combined with the scientific knowledge in this video and your own glucometer readings is the most powerful combination for optimizing fruit choices in your specific case. 10 best fruits, 5 worst, 4 rules, 1 glucometer to confirm. With this knowledge, every piece of fruit you choose becomes an informed decision that supports your glycemic control. Fruit is not your enemy with diabetes. Only the wrong choices and wrong amounts are. God bless you and give you much health. Until next time with more evidence-based tips for living better with diabetes. Remember, whole fruit with skin at the beginning of the meal, combined with protein or healthy fat, measured with your glucometer 1 hour after. With those 4 simple rules, the 10 best fruits on this list become powerful allies of your glycemic control. God bless you. Until next time with more evidence-based tips for better living with diabetes. 10 fruits that work for you. 5 that work against you. Choose wisely. God bless you. The glucometer does not lie. The evidence does not lie. Choose the 10 best and let your blood sugar confirm the difference. God bless you and give you much health. Amen. Until next time.